right. Good. Okay. I got 2 more giveaways before we end. All right. Now, back to our panel. See these lovely ladies here on the screen? My sisters. Some of them sisters in more ways than one. More ways than one. This is our COVID in our community panel. The ladies here who are bosses in their own right, but we're going to talk specifically about how COVID has essentially, bombarded our lives and will continue to be an issue essentially from here on out. As you well know, this has affected the Black community, Black and Brown community in double, triple, quadruple ways, and it has the Caucasian population, both with infections, hospitalization, actually all the above, infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. And so my job as a family physician, of course, is not only to, number one, help prevent this infection, myself, my family, my patients, and the community, with helping to express the need for the 3 Ws, but also to know how to treat people, once they are infected, and then once they recover, to continue treating them and helping them to heal and recover. So all these ladies are important in one or more ways in all these things I've just mentioned. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to get started with some Q&A and just go into how we're going to carry on from this point on, okay? All right, I'm going to have Melissa Wade in the Water start off and introduce herself. Madam?
Somehow I knew you were going to start with me. I knew it. No. You look beautiful, by the way, and this has been so much fun. And DJ Rick, you know what? Let the music play. Do your thing.
Thank you, sis.
Make it happen.
I appreciate that.
Hi, everyone. I am so glad to be here. I'm Melissa Wade. For those of you who listen to the radio, you hear me on the Light 103.9, and you know me as Melissa Wade in the Water, and that's exactly who I am. I have been in broadcasting for a lot of years. I started off in college. I won't say how many because you'll be like, wow, she's that old. But it's truly a passion of mine, and I love it. I love it because my main reason is just reaching out to the people and being that voice, that bullhorn for you. And that's what this is all about, and that's why I love being here with Doc Swiner today, because yet again, I'm being able to help you or be a voice and learn in the same time. Also, I have a passion for the stage, and so I am the CEO or the owner of Melissa Wade in the Water Productions, of which I write and direct and plays and stage plays and things like that. That's my second love. So you can definitely follow me anywhere, social media, Facebook, Instagram at Melissa Wade. Instagram, it's Melissa Wade 01. You can go to my website at melissawadeinthewaterproductions.com. Or actually, it's just wadeinthewaterproductions.com, and you can find out all about what's coming up. And I'm writing fervently because I'm at home, Doc Swiner. That pretty much wraps it up for me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for being here. We're going to get Melissa's personal story with COVID and how she has been helping since then, just to kind of spread the good word about how to take better care of ourselves. So we're going to hear more about that later. All right, Ms. Brittney, you ready?
Always. Thank you for having me. So my name is Brittney McGraw. I come from Michigan. Went to Michigan State, so go green. Down here, been in North Carolina for a while now, so I guess I can say I'm from North Carolina. But I have a quality background. I have an engineering background degree-wise, but I've been in quality for over 15 years now, and I've been in various industries, but the last 3.5 years, I've been in biopharma. So I've actually had my hands in making and manufacturing different biologics, especially vaccines. So I have lots of knowledge about the COVID vaccine, had questions on my own, and I'm here to discuss, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. We will get the truth. We will get all the info we need about those vaccines coming up soon. All right, last but not least, the beautiful Dr. Adeirdre.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adeirdre Riley. I'm a clinical psychologist, child of God, patient of Dr. Swiner's. I'm very happy to be here to share my experience with you as a COVID survivor and long hauler. So thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Yeah. If you guys are with us when Dr. Yolanda Lindsay, our dermatology friend, was presenting she mentioned the term long hauler. That is a thing now. That actually is a phenomenon with this whole COVID situation. So that means, someone who has survived and someone who is recovering, but, we're day by day finding out more stuff about what it is to have what we call post-acute COVID syndrome, or to be a long hauler. And these things that you experience with COVID can last for weeks, sometimes months. So there's research now, and we're learning more about this stuff. And so Adeirdre is a friend, a soror, and a patient of mine, a colleague of mine, and she has become my case study, my case report on what it is to truly follow a patient from infection to hospitalization to recovery. And I follow her lead a lot when it comes to knowing the questions to ask patients, knowing what to expect, knowing what to help provide, knowing what to be a resource for. So I'm learning from her. So I thought that she had an incredible amount of insight and knowledge that she could lend to our audience today. So get your notepads out. All right, Melissa, wade in the water. Do you want to tell a little bit about your personal experience with COVID, to your comfort level? Share with us.
I, of course, for those who follow me on Facebook and Instagram, I was an open book. I felt like I needed to be because of what I do, and I wanted to share because of so many people going through. And, of course, you being my doctor, I tapped into you first thing. I was like, what do I need to do? And can you go on with me? Because, I wanted not only my listeners, but those who follow me, my community, to know that, I'm human, just like everybody else. I go through, and more so, I wanted them to know the information, that it's not a death sentence. Things are going to happen, and this is what you need to watch out for. And not to mention, you gave me a wonderful concoction of what we needed to take, and I have shared that so many times with so many different, not just listeners, but friends and family. And so, I came down with COVID, I think it was right around election time, and I had it and went straight home and started working from home. That was one in itself. In the meantime, trying to stay home during my incubation period and not work, which was a task in itself. But you know that Doc Swanner was like, you need to sit down and be still, girl. And I was trying.
I said, give me 2 days. Don't do a thing. She was like, but I'm working from home and I'm DJing and like, what are you doing? Right?
I needed you. I truly needed you because I was not listening to my voice. And when you said that, I told my managers, I said, look, my doctor told me I need to sit down. And so I think that was their point of saying, okay. And so I did. I managed to get a little bit of rest. And, just going through it was something that when you hear about it, but when you actually get it, you're like, whoa, what am I going to do? So my journey was basically to let our listeners know, and it's still there on my Facebook page if you want to check it out. It was a journey that I truly believe God put me through and let me go through the other side to let everybody else know, hey, look, you can also be a survivor or a long hauler. Am I saying that right? Absolutely.
Tell us if you're okay with sharing, what symptoms did you experience?
I had more so body aches. I had a fever maybe for just a day. And the cough, I believe when we were talking, the cough was probably the longest thing that had with me. And, you prescribed different things to help me out. The Mucinex helped out a whole lot. But that was pretty much all. And it only lasted a couple of days. And after that, as you can tell, I was feeling pretty good and thinking, hey, I'm done. But it will. You still have to get that rest in order for your body to recuperate fully. And I learned that.
That's good. And I'm so glad that you're feeling well and doing well. And, we were able to kind of keep you contained at home. And, if you've seen what I've been sharing on social media about it is, even if you end up getting tested at a separate facility in one of these drive-up testing centers and it's not in your primary care's office, and please, if you are positive, in fact, with your testing, please let your primary care know. because it's our job. Now that we know a little bit more about this, it's our job to keep you out of the hospital and to help keep you contained so that you don't spread it, right? And sometimes the health department is so overwhelmed right now, they can't keep an eye on you and they can't contact trace all the time. So it needs to be your primary care to kind of help guide you and say, okay, well, these are the things you should look out for. If you feel worse, call me. Or if you feel worse, then go to the emergency room. So, please be in contact with your primary care. Don't just sit at home, being positive and not knowing what to do. Right? Good. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm muting myself. Adeirdre, would you like to share your experience?
Sure. My experience was one that really required tremendous faith and connectivity, and really not focusing on what I thought my knowledge was of the illness or what my response should be, and realizing that I am no longer an expert on myself and really seeking not only the information from the professionals, but also just seeking the quietness so that I could hear what I needed to do and to respond accordingly. Dr. Swiner did an amazing job informing the community about what was needed. Even if we didn't listen to the details, we sort of knew that you had some information and would be a resource. And so my first symptom was a rash that people rarely talk about, a rash being a symptom. I was diagnosed in July, and so that was relatively, I guess, in the second wave of things, once some things were more known. But the rash was not just a typical rash. It was really my blood clotting and being visible underneath my skin. So I was in a very dire situation. But I realized after I was discharged from the ER the first time, was that I needed to contact you and let you know. And I was really out of sorts. It was a midnight and I was being discharged and my sister was trailing me home. And I thought I should send Doc Swiner a message and let her know that I'm being discharged and that I have COVID. Only because you had put that information out there in advance, that you should let your medical team know that you have tested positive. I probably ordinarily wouldn't have done that because, we all think, well, we want to respect boundaries and not be intrusive and that sort of thing. But you really need to let someone know, because that quarantine period can be difficult. If you are sort of quarantining in your home, making sure no others in your home are infected, and you are in your own mind an expert of some sort on your own body, on God, or whatever it is that you think you will soon find out that without connecting to people, you will be in a desperate situation, like I was, sort of quarantining in the room and not coming out and trying to help myself. I deteriorated quickly, and it was only by the grace of God that I was connected to people who were praying with me. My soror Kim was praying with me every evening, and my sister and my husband. But also, Dr. Swiner Zoomed me on Monday. So it was Monday morning at midnight, and then Monday morning I had a Zoom with her, and then Tuesday I had a phone call from her, and then I was to meet with her on Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock just to make sure I was okay. And I wasn't okay. And it seems like that's a short period of time, but it was a lot of time for a lot of bad things to kind of go wrong for me. And in my opinion, I know, had I not been connected in that way, where I could reach out to family, reach out to friends, and to the medical expert, that I wouldn't have been in a good situation. And prayer is hands down what has kept me and has kept everybody on my COVID unit when I was there throughout the whole situation, and is keeping me now. So that is my experience.
Beautiful. You articulated so beautifully, which is why I gave you the task now of having to write. I was like, oh, well, got to write a book now. Sorry.
It's too much. It's too much. I'm grateful to be here, but just so everyone knows, it is like pulling teeth to get me here. So I'm trying. I have to channel my inner Sade. I have very few strands of hair left, but I'm here, and I thank God for the opportunity.
Which is another thing that Dr. Lindsay talked about, right? The allergy. Yeah. Who knew? But now we know, and hopefully some of the things that she shared, I don't know if you're going to be able to connect with her, but hopefully some of the things that she shared will be helpful as well. So, let me highlight a couple of things that Adeirdre just noted. So yes, number one, the importance of your faith. Absolutely. Makes a big difference. Prayer changes things. Whatever your faith is, mine has Jesus Christ, you need to rely on it every day, and especially if you catch something like this, because it's so unpredictable. It's so unpredictable. So again, Melissa had mild symptoms, Adeirdre had significant ones. Some people don't make it out of this thing. We don't know where you'll end up or if you'll have any symptoms. So again, faith, number one. Number two, the thing that I think is also helpful, again, connecting with your primary care, because the emergency rooms are overwhelmed, the testing centers are overwhelmed, the health departments are overwhelmed, everyone's overwhelmed. But hopefully you have that one-on-one relationship with your primary care physician, your internist, your family doc, your pediatrician, where you can pick up the phone the next day and say, hey, I was discharged, this is happening. That emergency room and hospital follow-up can be life-saving, literally. So, a lot of us are doing phone call visits and telemedicine visits or parking lot visits. So I had Adeirdre pull up to the parking. I call them a pull up. My staff think that's very ignorant. I said, tell them to pull up. So pull up visit, and I'll meet you outside. I'll don in my PPE and come meet you outside. So you don't have to come in the building. But that next day follow-up can literally be life-saving. So please make sure you're connecting with someone. Number three, I think it's clearly when it comes to prevention, and I think this might have, again, everybody's different and it affects everybody differently no matter how healthy or unhealthy you are. But in Melissa's situation, I think the fact that she was so physically in shape and was exercising all the time and was trying her best to eat right and all that, could that have anything to do with, her lack of symptoms? We don't know. But I certainly try to, encourage people to stay physically active, try to eat right, try to take your vitamins now instead of waiting until you're infected, because I think, that could have something to do with your length of time that you're sick and your recovery period. Melissa, do you want to speak to that?
I was going to say absolutely. I remember talking to you, when you first became my doctor. And we were talking about, my blood pressure and different things like that. I said, you know what? I am on a mission to make myself a healthier me for anything that may come about. This was before COVID. And so, just with that mindset of just being healthy, no matter what may come along, is just making this temple as strong as possible to be able to defend anything that may try and come against it. And I remember us saying that, you were like, Melissa, we're going to get you off the whole, anything that's happening with your body, that's my vision. And that was my goal. And so I truly believe, because I had already made that my mission, that it did help with the bout with COVID. I truly believe that.
Absolutely. So just to kind of reiterate some of the things I've already mentioned on social media as far as ways to boost your immune system, especially right now because we're also in cold and flu season. Now, side note, thankfully, we have not seen as much flu as we normally would. Think why? Because we're doing all the stuff we're supposed to be doing, right? We're masking up, we're washing hands, we're staying away from people. Right, there's the mask. That's right, Melissa. So who'd have thunk that would actually decrease infection? Hello, all right? So follow all the rules and we should see decreases of all types of infections from here on out. So yes, also people have gotten the flu shot. I think in clinic I've seen higher numbers of people getting the flu shot and sooner than they normally would. So I think that also has a lot to do with the fact that our flu numbers are so good, right? Someone in the chat said kids not in school. Absolutely. The little germy petri dishes that they are, they're not sharing and touching and all that stuff. So Dr. Kendra Wooten reminds me there's been an 89% decrease in flu deaths even, Kendra. 89% decrease in flu deaths because of the stuff. So it has to work for COVID too. If we follow the rules, let's do what we're supposed to do. And now that we have a vaccine, segue, and we all feel different ways about that, Brittney, how do you what were your initial thoughts when you texted me back in March, April, to say, oh, it's here, the vaccine's coming. What were your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts were, and again, I manufacture vaccines, and my initial thoughts were, I don't know if I'm going to take that. I'm not sure. And I honestly said, I'm not sure because, and I text you back and said, I'm not sure, hang tight, let me figure out, a little bit more about the vaccine because, vaccines are built on decades and decades of work. So by the time this actually hit land, the States, it was like, we'll have a vaccine in 6 months. And I'm like, 6 months? I'm like, that, and in my mind, just the data behind it, I'm like, well, what's the incubation period and how are you getting the samples and how are you even collecting any of these data points, molecules to even generate and put on a platform that maybe even is halfway there? I was perplexed and was very scared and cautious because a few people reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about it? And I'm like, I'm not there yet. Yes, you were one of them. And I just wasn't there yet. But then when I actually got so I work for a gene therapy company in pharma. So we actually manufacture vectors that go into your DNA to produce a protein to help generative diseases. So the power behind gene cell therapy technology on its own is I can't even put it into words. I am so excited and proud to see all of the other diseases that can be saved by this type of technology. So when I found out that, the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine had that type of technology behind it, I felt a whole lot comfortable because I actually know how that works. I know how it's manufactured. I know how it works once it gets into your body. So therefore it gave my level of comfort. So now when people do ask me, I'm like, yes. As soon as I can take it, I definitely will be in line to take it.
Got you. Okay. Can you describe in layman's terms what an mRNA vaccine is? What does that mean?
So basically that is so you have it's basically, I want to say like your alert system to say, hey, my body just detected a virus. What do I do? So what the vaccine does is it basically is a vector that goes into that DNA and says, hey, this is a message. When you feel like this and when you feel like these type of symptoms, turn up. I want you to turn up. All systems on, everything's on go. We're going to fight this because now we kind of gave you the secret to, hey, these are the little ingredients that are in this little bug. Here's how you fight it. So when your body detects it, that message turns on and all your systems are, it's your system being boosted to the utmost to fight against it because it knows the attack methods.
Excellent job.
Did I break that down?
As we were talking, I was going back to biology. I was like,
I know, that was the one subject I tried to stay away from, and here I am. I'm like, math, yes, all day. But then, the science behind it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But no, I appreciate everything I'm still learning.
Yes, excellent job. So yes, mRNA, message, RNA.
Message, yep.
Delivered via the vaccine through the shot.
Yep.
Message is delivered to your cells. It says,
yep.
Hey, recognize.
And your cells make a protein.
Make a protein, and then
yep.
what happens? Like protein.
And then your protein's there, it's ready, it's waiting for some type of message or some type of germ to say, hey, I know what that is, and I'm going to go after it.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So you are going to get the shot. You've decided, that's it.
Yes. And me personally, I don't have a spleen.
Ah, yeah.
So let me share that. So I will catch something quicker than the average person. And it takes me twice as long to get rid of it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, and from virus to virus is different, or bacterial, all of that's different. But I have one less huge organ in my body fighting for me. So any vaccine that, you know, I've done research on or anything like that now that I'm in the industry, but I'm all up for taking it, you know. So yeah, I need to take it.
Why do you think it's important for all of us to take this shot?
Because the pros outweigh the cons. If you want to arm your body with the most ammunition to fight off whether you're the thing is you don't know whether you're going to be asymptomatic or not. Like, I haven't tested positive for COVID, but yet I haven't had the test, but I haven't had the test because I haven't had any symptoms to say, hey, you should probably go test, or, you know, gone to a, you know, a small social event where it's like, hey, we're testing, let's get everybody's paperwork in, you know, to kind of see if I've had it or not. But why take that risk? So the pros definitely outweigh the cons. The vaccine's not going to give you the coronavirus. That's one thing. So you know that, because I think a lot of people are, and I used to be one of those that didn't want to take the flu shot because I'm like, well, I hear people get sick. I hear people catch the flu. And it's like, well, no, now that I know how the vaccine works, that's not really what's being put into you. You're not getting the live virus inside of you. So I think, like, again, the pros outweigh the cons. So you know, like I said, if another thing that cautioned me was how fast it got approved, which is concerning for a lot of people because it takes a long time for medicines to get approved. And so that was a question of safety. But, you know, my job, I know in my career, you know, I'm the site quality head for a site in North Carolina. It's my job to make sure that everything's safe, the identity's there, the quality's there, the purity and the strength is there before it even hits any kind of shelf. So I think that knowing all of the research and information and the number of eyes and the number of tests that these vaccines have to go through, it definitely, the confidence is there. So I definitely would stress, you know, for anybody to take the vaccine.
Excellent. Thank you for explaining that, especially when it comes to the flu shot. I still, you know, now that I'm an old doc, you know, I've been in practice now for 13, 14 years. I don't argue anymore. But when I was a fresh green resident, well, I don't argue, but I do kind of, you know, I strongly encourage with a very maternal voice and a strong side eye. I do that. But when I was a fresh intern on the scene, I was like, listen, these are how many people die, and you got to take the shot, and you have a child at home. Like, I would come strong, right? Now I'm like, we got the flu shot. You want it? Oh, you don't? Oh, okay. And, you know, but you realize it's, you know, it's fatal, and you have children at home, and you work in the daycare or hospital setting. Okay, all right. And then I move on. But the way that you explained it, I think will hopefully encourage other folks to reconsider. So that's good.
I hope so.
That's what I have a question for you and Brittney. Some of my listeners ask, you know, is there one, I guess, company whose vaccine it's better than the other? And some of them ask, you know, will it be lesser for certain zip codes? Do I live in a certain zip code where, you know, the doctors or the healthcare workers are getting a better vaccine per se than those who live in certain zip codes? How would you guys comment to those questions?
I would say that I usually think of it as like when you kind of go through the drive-through and you see the sanitization score that's right there by the window where you're paying, and you kind of want to go to the one that has something above 97, hopefully, you know, or you kind of get concerned. The FDA is not going to release anything that is not above a certain percent effective, or that has the backing of the confidence and the efficacy behind the data. So rest assured that any product that is distributed to any of the clinics are at or above the level of success. So I can say that. So for the two vaccines that are out right now, either one is fine. Either one will be perfectly okay to take. Now, there are some more vaccines coming, like I know, I think there was an article on J&J, and theirs was still at maybe a high 70s%. but that's the data that they have right now. They wouldn't submit that data to the FDA with that low effectiveness. So they're still in their clinical trials, because the more data that they'll accumulate, the higher percentage they'll be able to claim based on the data.
And while you're right there, Brittney, let me ask you a question from the chat. Why, if you happen to know, why is the Moderna a 28-day window after shot 1 versus Pfizer having a 21-day window? Do you happen to know? I know you don't work for either of those companies.
I don't know, and I don't want to misspeak, but that is a very good question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it has to do with shelf life. I don't know if it has to do with the refrigeration degrees, just the time out of refrigeration. I mean, it varies. So I am not 100% sure why.
We can find out more info about that. And then lastly, do both vaccines have the same mechanism of action?
Yes, they do.
They're both mRNA.
Yep, they are both vectors. That is exactly the technology behind both of them.
Very good. Adeirdre, I'm gonna bring you back in here. What are your honest feelings about the vaccine?
My feelings are that it's an important decision, and individual decision to make. Right now, it's one of many decisions and options that you have. While you have the ability to make a well-informed decision, as time goes on, and God forbid, if you are exposed to the virus, your decisions, your ability to make a decision and the number of decisions you have sort of dwindle. So for me, I start at, it's important to wear a mask. So we've all had access to masks. It's important to social distance or to physically distance. And now that we can add vaccine to that option. However, if you are hospitalized, now you are hoping that you can get additional medication. In my case, I was able to get Remdesivir at a time where it was extremely limited at Duke Hospital. And I had physicians advocating for me to be one of the ones to receive the medication at a point in which they had to decide who was going to get the medication. So you go from mask and vaccine to now you're hoping to get Remdesivir. And then after that, you're hoping that when you are discharged from the hospital that you're not still infectious and you won't infect your family. And now you're having to make other decisions about your daily life and hoping you don't need to be on supplemental oxygen. And I'm not trying to use scare tactics here, but it's sort of like, just think about it from the standpoint of decision making. Everyone has their own level of risk tolerance, and we can respect that. But just know with your risk tolerance, your decision making ability will dwindle if you are no longer able to breathe on your own or make decisions on your own. And even if you have to go on ventilation, for example, thank God I didn't have to go on ventilation. But if I were able and well enough to take the vaccine now, I would. I mean, I had to wait an extended period of time just to be able to get the flu vaccine. So there are people who are in my cardiopulmonary rehab program who have been hospitalized, et cetera, who will tell you, by all means, take the vaccine if you can. Like, we're all hoping that all of our providers get the vaccine. We even overheard them. They had a meeting while we were at our finishing some exercises. We heard the meeting where they were discussing if they would get the vaccine or not. And we're like, are they not going to get the vaccine? Hopefully they will decide to. Because COVID, many people have been blessed that they've gotten well relatively quickly. Some people have had lingering symptoms like I have. And then there are others, even on my worst day, I'm still grateful because there are people in my class who still walk around with their oxygen tank, who have to rehab with an oxygen tank on one treadmill while they're walking on the other. And those are the harsh realities of COVID, and even as a long hauler that people just don't see. What people actually see is, those who quarantine or they take their time and they get better. but there are lots of other medical complications that are unseen, even for people who may have not had outward manifestations that they're aware of. I would urge you to even get a more extensive physical, because there could have been physical changes in your body that you just may not see. So I would just encourage people to use their sound mind and decision-making abilities now to make a well-informed decision for themselves, meaning educate yourself. Don't rely on information that's being, given to you by others. I mean, this is a great opportunity for you to learn more here, but dig deeper and educate yourself and really discuss what your risk tolerance is. And if you are willing to forego a vaccine and you're comfortable enough dealing with whatever consequences there may be for you later, then that would be your choice. But just document that now and be well informed.
Phenomenal. Amazing way to describe that. And I like that. What's your level of risk tolerance is a question I'm going to ask for all things now. Like for any, why aren't you getting a mammogram? Why aren't you doing a pap smear? Why aren't you doing a colonoscopy? What's your risk tolerance? That's amazing. And so, you all know, my personal story, because I shared it with, me testing positive for COVID, which I now think was likely a false positive because I tested my antibodies and they were negative. So, but when I first tested positive, it was, traumatic and dramatic in my household. We all, my whole family was just like, what do we do? Thank God I had no symptoms. Thank God my family has been negative. We remain negative. Praise the Lord. But all kinds of thoughts happen. I see people in the comments talk about your end of life decisions now. Don't wait until you test positive. Think about your family. Do all these things. So hopefully this has brought up a lot of discussions in people's households about how are you going to handle it if one of you tests positive? What are you going to do if you don't get the vaccine? What's your plan? Now I will say this, and I'm on the same page as Brittney. I did have a lot of questions. I continue to have questions about the vaccines. There are multiple companies coming out with theirs now, and I was leery. I want to know more data. The good news is there is ongoing research, particularly for people of color, because what's happening is, what we originally had as an issue was not a lot of people of color were volunteering for these research trials. So we didn't have data. I think they wanted to have like greater than 35% of the volunteers be people of color, and they were only having like 17, right? 10 to 17, right? So my job, I've been working with Wake Research, which is a research marketing company here in the Triangle. And what we have been trying to do is to get the word out so that more people of color will be involved in these research trials, because we need to know, how does it affect us specifically? What side effects will we endure? How long of immunity do we have when we get the shot? It matters. So thankfully, particularly with Wake Research, there are 2 ongoing studies in Durham and in Fayetteville. So Dr. Jay Fletcher here in the comments said, reach out to @Wake Research on social media or wakeresearch.com if you are interested in being a volunteer for one of these studies, so that we can learn more. It's very important, and we still need good information. Excuse me, the numbers are increasing, meaning the amount of folks that are contributing to these studies and that have been volunteers in these studies, people of color, has gotten better. So we're getting better, we're getting more data, more information. And now I'm more comfortable with getting the vaccine, and I signed up on January the 21st. So I'll be getting Pfizer, number 1, on January the 21st. And I'm sure I'll tell you all about it. So stay tuned. But my decision largely has to do with this man who's on Zoom too, Mr. Swiner, thinking about my 2 children. Here he comes to the mic. What you gonna say?
I'll take the upgrade if you're going to upgrade me.
I think you're on mute. I muted you.
I said, I'll take the upgrade to doctor if you want to upgrade me. I'm cool with that.
That's fine. The good Reverend Dr. Rick Swiner. But no, my decision largely had to do with them. I'm in the medical field. I'm going to be seeing patients. I need to be protected. And hopefully by protecting myself, I will also help to protect my family, at least from the trauma that we experienced a piece of when I tested positive. So that's my decision, and we'll see how it goes. Y'all pray my strength. no, I think it's very important. We have to have a vaccine in order to move forward. We have to. So it's either now you get one or you wait a little bit later and get one, but I think we all need to get one. And so here's where we are. All right, ladies, any other important things you want to make sure our audience knows? I know we had a lot of phenomenal questions in the comments and chats. I'm sorry we don't have enough time to really go through all of them, but please send these ladies some information, or maybe ladies, once we're done, you can go into the comment section and see what kinds of things people were asking about. But what are your final words and advice for the audience?
Oh, I will go. You can't be a superwoman. I know that's your book, No Superwoman Complex, but it is absolutely true. You cannot do this alone. It definitely takes even more than a village. It takes, every ounce of Bible study and whatever Sunday school you remembered from a child. If you've never even gone, you will call upon God. Trust me. And it's just great to have an excellent support system. No matter who they are, they may not even be in your immediate family. Staying connected is more important than anything, and being grounded in God's word will definitely see you through.
With that, I'll go next. Amen, amen, amen. Prayer changes things, y'all. Encouraging one another, reaching out, calling one another, especially if you know someone that's been infected. Call them, check on them, make sure they're doing okay. And by all means, when you're able to get the vaccine, I know I will be in line to do so. We perish for lack of knowledge, and today we have received lots of knowledge. Pass it along, and as you said before, research more for yourself. But the bottom line is, like you said, Doc Swiner, we can't go forward unless we have this vaccine, and we all need it, especially in the African American community.
Ms. Brittney, any final words for us?
I mean, they both said it. Drea and Melissa said it perfectly. I can't add anything more to it. Yes, you will need some prayers, some praying saints behind you, calling you, communicate everything. Everything that they say is absolutely true. I would like to just add that there have been a couple questions about the 2 new strands that have been highlighted or discovered here in the U.S. And what the vaccines, do they cover that strand as well? So I do want to say that there are premature studies that suggest that both of the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine will cover those 2 new strands. But you give a virus another 6 months and a new strand will have mutated. So just to keep that in thought, but definitely from a research perspective, if you have a question, ask.
Excellent. Thank you so much, ladies. I love y'all so much. Thank you. This was so good. So good. So good. All right. Rick Swiner, I'm going to give you the mic again for only 3 minutes.
3 minutes. All right. I'll take 3 minutes. Ladies, thank you all so much. The information was fantastic. You all, of course, blessed us with some good stuff. So thank you very much. I'm glad you all are doing better and on the mend. Continue to get better. Brittney, good seeing you as always, sis. Been too
always
long. We got to get down to unscripted for these cocktails real soon. All right. All right, let me run some jams, and then we'll get back to the what's next? The men's panel, right?
Finishing up with the men's panel.
Sorry, I got excited. It's my favorite.
Will ensue, I'm sure.
You said what?
The debauchery and the ignorance will ensue.
Yeah, I just told the girls to shut it down so we can go ahead and keep it 100. So, Melissa, you might not want to be a part of the men's panel. I'm kidding. It'll be fine.